right. Hello everyone. How's it going? I am staying warm here. All right. All right, PHP Storm is hopping. I found a little tedious thing I missed right before the stream, so I was letting Junie take a go at it. So let me see what it did first, and then let me catch everybody up on what I did. I feel like none of these are needed anymore. Let's do this first. Get a dot. Okay, so these got renamed. That's good. That seems good. Okay, and then next, I don't know why these still exist. I don't think they need to exist. Let me just go look at them real quick. Let me go look at them and I'll catch everybody up, because I was right in the middle. Okay, cached. Okay, yep. Okay, and then I think this is now in this new content cache airdrop. Yeah. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We are gonna quickly just dump these files because they're not needed. So let's just take that and let's do a git rm. I'm just gonna take that out. Whatever, I don't care. Oh, come on. Dash F. All right, let's try that again. All right. There we go. That feels better. All right, cool. Let's, okay, so next, can everybody hear me okay? Everybody hear me okay? Yep. Git commit, let's say, remove plus rename old Livewire components. I've been doing git whip like 1,000 times and now I can't keep track of like what I've actually changed. I've been using AI a little bit more on this. You can see that Laracast course came like perfectly, and I've just kind of been like trying to emulate like what it demonstrates in there. So like a lot of stuff here. I'm still on my free trial, so I'm just like burning through the tokens, and I don't care. So I'm just letting it do like a bunch of little things. So let's catch everybody up. I've got this whip commit out here. Did I just push that or not? Git push. Okay, cool. We push this. There should be more files changed. Yeah, there we go. Okay, lots more files changed. Okay, so this is, let's back up a second. So what we're doing for new viewers, this is a part 2, but what we're doing is a case study for Laravel News, where we're basically gonna attempt to cache their homepage and like an article detail page, such as this, right? So what we found in kind of taking a look at the code is that the site pretty much uses Livewire everywhere. It doesn't necessarily need Livewire everywhere, though. Really, it was just using Livewire for the benefits of its like component templating. But now with like some of the advancements in like Blade components, again, Laravel News, just like Laravel Shift, is you know, an OG like community site. It's been around, you know, for a long time. So, you know, this was probably originally written in like Laravel 3, you know, so it's grown over the years. So on the surface, it might seem like some choices are like, why'd you do it that way? Well, the answer is it's a legacy application, and it evolves, you know, potentially at a slower rate than a brand new Laravel new project that you started, you know, 6 months ago. So some of the practices that are in here at the time were probably fine because Livewire was like the new thing and it afforded you a lot more options. But it's also like another good example of like Yagni. Like, you didn't need to use Livewire there. You kind of just used it because it was the new hotness and maybe you wanted to try it out. And again, that's fine. Like, it's a legacy project. If it makes it fun to work on, like, why not? But now that we know we want to cache these pages, it's one of those things where like we realize that you don't really need Livewire here. So basically I am ripping out Livewire from the components that the home page and the article page use. And while that is kind of a larger set of files, we'll actually see here that the deletions are probably going to end up ultimately being more than the additions. So let's kind of review some of what we've done here. So, well, we definitely don't need to commit the AI thing, so we'll get rid of that. So there's some additions that don't even really need to be in there. So what we did was we basically made this article controller, and we'll look here in a second that this is just a direct port of the Livewire component class, and so is homepage trending. We basically just made this an invocable controller and brought over all the methods that were inside of the Livewire component. The rest of these were basically just automated from the Fast Laravel shift that's available. So it brings in these middleware that you can use. It wires up some stuff in Bootstrap here. We can see here it wires up this new static bit. I think I just moved over the helpers from like a PSR4 thing there. That's just something I do in projects. Kind of honor that a little bit better. And then, so if we go back, let's go back and look at this Livewire stuff. So let's take a look at this article show. This was the original component, and this is a smaller one. So let's just look at this. So basically, again, everything that was here just got moved into a controller, because if we look, there's absolutely no reactivity here. They mounted an article. They just had a little guard clause to like load more stuff in and abort, you know, if it's not preview, and then they basically just rendered with all of its data. There was nothing on the page like wire click or wire model or anything that made it reactive and therefore needing to use Livewire. If you open up Laravel News and you inspect the traffic and you go over to like XHR, you'll never see like a Livewire update here. So the point being that, again, it doesn't need Livewire. So kind of the surgical refactor that I talk about in Fast Laravel, I cover, you know, all sorts of these tiny little refactors that you can do to make a page cacheable. In this case, removing Livewire to just use, you know, a basic blade component is going to make this more cacheable, because underneath Livewire depends upon session data, and it really depends upon it just for like the snapshotting and kind of the tokenization, like the handshake back and forth when it is sending those Livewire update calls. But again, because there's no reactivity here, it doesn't need any of that. It's never using it, so it's kind of just like, that's just the way Livewire is built, just like the way Laravel framework is built. Out of the box, it uses the session to make web development easier, because sessions and cookies, that's how you make the web stateful and you do cooler application-y type things on it. Everything else, otherwise everything's going to require like a world building page refresh every time, right? So again, all of this was just pulling that out. If we go look at some of these smaller ones, like these little article ads, again, you can kind of see here, same thing. They just rendered a view and they had a computed property that allowed some caching. Like all of this was just built in. You know, this is just what it did. Like this, again, it's not even really using Livewire in like the sense that it could cache that through this computed, you know, PHP attribute, right? So like, there's already some things here where it afforded us some cleanup. So basically, all of these Livewire components got removed. And if we go down and look at like article add here, we just moved over its template, right? That's all it took. Now I need to go back and look at these templates to make sure again that they don't have something I missed. But again, I've searched them for like underlying Livewire tags and, you know, $wire and wire : and all that kind of stuff. We'll do it again here in a minute. But anyway, brought all these over. I think the main thing I'm looking at now is this service class. This basically took any of the methods that were in those Livewire component classes, and it just kind of brings them here so they're easier to share. So if we go back and look at like that article add, it now needs to call this kind of static content cache class. So I think right now these aren't static. So I could do a couple things. I could turn this into like a real-time facade, or I can just make these static. I'm not too worried about making them static simply for the fact that like everything in here is going to be cached. So if you needed to test calling one of these, you could just fake the cache. Typically I use a real-time facade because it makes it easier to test. But again, given the nature of what this class is, just this repository, if you will, of like cached content, I'm okay making them just static for ease of use. So let's bring up that article add. So this is now a blade component, and again, I haven't changed anything inside of this component yet. That's kind of the last refactor step. I've identified all the reaching components that the home page and the article pages reached for. So I've isolated, I've like cast my net, and now I'm kind of reeling that in. I've figured out what's in it, and there's no other places that the home page or the article pages touch that would need to be converted from Livewire. Again, I'm not trying to rewrite the whole site. It's just a surgical refactor to like change this one little piece. The goal is just to make these for now, to make these two things cacheable. If we prove that out, then you can get into your stats, figure out your next highest hit page, and make it cacheable too, right? But these by far are your most trafficked pages, and therefore will benefit the most from caching. So let's take a look here. So basically this was this ad, and if we go back to our old diff here, let's go back up to Livewire article ad. So this was called ad. It's now called article ad. So the point here is that this becomes content cache article ad, right? And it takes the article. Hold on, my comments are in the way here. It takes the article's slug. Do I want to pass it slug, or do I want to pass the whole article? Add article show. Interesting. How does it know which one it is? So this will have to be, I mean, I can import this, but this can be app. Is it services? Services, yeah. I always forget if it's services or support. Okay, so article add, and it takes a slug. What does article show do? Self-active, order by, static, self-active, order by. Oh, it just takes the first. I see. Okay, it takes the first article. Okay. So we need to pass it slug, and my understanding is, oh, we got a wire key here. I don't think we need those anymore since I'm not live wiring it up. Oh, this will have to be assigned to an ad. Okay, so where does X article ad show up? Here we go. Okay. How does that not have an article slug? Interesting. Did it default? Slug, public slug. Could have just been null. Strange. Seems like that would have thrown an error. Okay, so anyway, the point is it passes in the slug. So we should have that. We should have that when we come in here. So this should just be slug. But the point is this ad comes off. So we actually need to like assign it to something. So we could go back we could go back to bringing back I mean, a blade component can equally have an underlying class. So I'm trying to figure out, like, do we do an underlying class to simply assign this? Or do we just do some PHP up here? Like, I forget, does Blade have a set now? I feel like they finally, like, just bit the bullet and did a set. Anyway, let's say add equals. And then we'll say if add, and then anywhere it says this add just becomes add. All right, and then there is a wire key in here. Is there any other wire stuff in here? Wire. No, there's not. And there's not any kind of like live wire. Yeah, that would have showed up. And there's no $sign wire. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so it was just a wire key there for some reason, which was strange because it wasn't even a loop. Not sure why wire key would have been there. Unless the thing itself is used within a loop. I could see that. So yeah, I think for now I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. There might be a cleaner way to do it in an inline blade component, but like, this doesn't bother me. Yeah. If you find an add, good to go. Okay, so this is an example of how these need to look now. So let's do one more. Let's do one more, and then there's something else I could do the rest with AI. Let's do one more. Let's do this layer jobs cards thing. So it calls jobs. So what'll this will be called Lara jobs dash card. There it is. Okay. So let's bring up Lara jobs dash card dot blade. There it is. All right. And then it loops over this job as job. Wonderful. Okay, let's search for any wire $sign, nothing. And because this is now a local variable, or sorry, this is now one of those app services content cache job. Whoops, job. Is that right? Jobs. This doesn't take anything, it just returns that. Okay. So that's easy, and this is all a local variable now, so no big deal. I'm going to get rid of the dead code just to clean it up a little bit. All right, this looks good. Okay. So yeah, you could get the idea here. It's basically just going to be going down through each one of these templates that I converted and just kind of giving them a quick pass to make sure they look good. The next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that all of these are cached, because if we go back and look here, like it was a cached property. A computed property that was cached previously. So let's just make sure we're honoring that. Because even though we're going to do a page level cache, which trumps any kind of other optimization, if you were to hit this page on a refresh or a cache warming, you know, this could be an expensive query. So we want to still have an underlying cache too. That's the whole thing with caching. Like you want to, it's like a Russian doll approach. You just cache, 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 cache all the way down. There's going to be a lot of these though, so let's just borrow this for a second. I don't know what the default cache length would have been in Livewire 3 when you don't specify it. You know, my guess is an hour or something, so we'll just do that. But if you know in the chat, put it in there. I'm curious what the default is when you don't specify. Or maybe it's forever, I don't know. So cache remember TTL, let's say now add hour. We'll just do an hour for now. And we'll throw that in there. And we'll close it up. Easy peasy. And let's call this, what did we call this? Jobs? What was this called? Lara jobs card. Lara jobs card. There's no slug. All right, let's call that because that's what it's used for. All right, let's do the same thing down here. Let's just make all these cached real quick. The default's going to be add. Well, again, they might have had something in here. Let's go look at, what was this, partners? Partners is just computed. It wasn't previously cached. Oh, I see. Okay. It wasn't previously cached, so because of this potentially random order thing, I think I probably won't put caching here, I think. All right, latest articles. Seems like it probably had some caching. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so let's honor that. So let's throw in our cache again. Oops. Let's throw in, where'd our cache go? I don't know. Okay, whatever. Cache, oh, the slug. Okay, cool. And then what was this called? Latest articles. And this was a day. So add day. Reads better. All right. Oh. We could actually arrow that. There we go. I can live with that. Yeah, that's fine with me. It's a little tight, but that's okay. So partners home, this was computed, and it's got more of that random bit there, so fine. Again, this was just computed. These ended up being the same. I remember looking at that. Okay, let's look at trending. Okay, so 60 times 60 times 24 times 3, so that's 3 days. Oh, there you go, cache for 3 days. Okay, let's get the trending articles then. So let's do that. And this is trending, whoops, trending articles. Same thing, and then add days 3, that reads way better. And then let's close it up. Cool. Let's run pint just to make sure this looks better. Okay, so everything in here that was cached is now cached, so that's good. Yeah, I think we're in a pretty good place here. The only concern is like, if I get in, that was my mistake. Let's just do a wide net here for wire. Pricing item. Wait, am I in? So there is some wire stuff in here, but this isn't me. Form section hero, join newsletter. Oh, okay, latest articles section. Here we go. Wire key. So let's get rid of that. So yeah, this is another situation here where we need to bring in this content cache, and this is what, latest article? No, latest. Why is that doing that? Why am I not getting completion here? Oh, because they're not static yet. We need to do that. That was the other thing I wanted to do. There we go. Let's take this off. Latest, yeah, there we go. Latest articles accept. Okay, so this probably needs to get passed in some stuff. The other thing is, this cache key does not take into account this other stuff. So that feels a little funky to me. It feels a little funky that the latest article, you can pass it arguments, but those aren't reflected in the cache key. So it's kind of like, where was this used before? So latest articles section. Is that really the same? Yeah, latest articles section. Where is this used? Let's take a look. Latest articles. So yeah, see, we're passing an except, and it's different. So see, articles show. Yeah, it feels like this needs to be factored into the cache. It seems like limit's never used, but it seems like that. Okay, so first of all, we need to pass this in here. So this is except. All right. How was this done before? Yeah, that's weird. I'm curious how that works right now in production. Does the Livewire computed property automatically, I wonder if it automatically like snapshots those. I don't think that it does, but now I'm curious. I don't know. I'm not hearing anything in the chat. Let's see what we got. We got nothing in the chat. All right. So maybe you all don't know either. I think when you don't supply a key, then it's keyed based on the current component. But when you do supply a key, that it treats it a little bit more like globally, so to speak, right? Let's just read. Livewire. Let's go back to 3. Computed properties, yeah. Let's go back to 3 because that's what they're on. Nope, that's not helpful. Components, computed properties, here we go. Caching between all requests, here we go. Sometimes you want to know, sometimes you would like to cache the value for the lifespan of a Livewire component rather than it being cleared after a request. Yes, you would. Below is an example. Okay. Because of each unique instance of a Livewire component has a unique ID, we can use getID to generate a unique cache key. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. But as you may have noticed, most of this code is predictable. It can easily be abstracted. Because of this, Livewire's computed attribute has persist. So they're not using persist. They're using, okay, here we go, caching across all components. Instead of caching the value components lifecycle, you can cache it across all of the components. Okay. In the above example, until the cache expires or is busted, every instance of this component in your application will share the same cache this post. If you need to manually clear it, you set the key. Okay, so my understanding is the combination of these two are, again, global. They're across all. So to me, I'll have to ask Eric, but this feels like a race condition. The fact that it's not. Race condition is not the right word, but it's kind of like whoever calls it first. So let's say that the cache was stale. Let's go back and look for latest article. So if we do the latest articles section, let's say your cache was empty. right? You have a cache miss, all right? And let's say that you go to article show. Okay, well, that's going to render the latest articles section without the article that you're currently looking at. And that's now going to get cached according to, you know, our old removed thing. That's going to get cached for 1 day. So those are the articles you always see for a day. So if you go back to the home page and the article you were looking at wasn't the featured article, well, your latest article section is going to also have the featured article in it. It's not going to accept that. That seems, it seems like a bug. That seems like that wouldn't be the case. I'll have to ask Eric about that. I don't want to get too much on a tangent here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in should the cache key. Yeah, thanks AI. All right, cool. Yeah, it really, in my opinion, it should take into account accept. It should like join accept. Like it should sort join that on dashes and like make that be part of the key. That's what I think. And then you could do like a composite thing then when you clear it out. I'm pretty sure in Laravel when you clear cache you can pass it a wildcard. I'm almost positive. Let's go check. Cache facade. Cache usage. Removing items from the cache. You may also remove items by providing. No. I thought you could do a wildcard remove. Cache tags are not supported. Okay, so we could do a tag. Yeah, you could tag them based on latest articles and just remove them all if you wanted to. That's probably not ideal. Laravel cache clear wildcard. I thought they had that 8 years ago. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, you can use cache tags. That's kind of what I said. You could go low level. I don't really want to do that. Yeah, again, I think the answer that we get here will guide if we even need to worry about that. So again, let's get off this tangent. I don't think there's anything else to do here other than just to make sure all of these are good to go. So like, let's get crazy. Let's do, does this even boot up? I haven't set anything up. So like, I don't even think I've run an npm install. Yeah, that's kind of what I figure. He sent me the database, but I think he mentioned that it was like, MySQL specific. So like, this iMac doesn't have herd or anything, so it's not super simple to get all that set up. Let's see what this is. Yeah, database file. Okay. I'll play this game for like 3 minutes. Let's play this for just a minute. Yeah. It's gonna need all the stuff. Oh, wait a second. Copy.env.example.env. Let's try this. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's actually trying to read. It's nice that it's not like it's a it's not like it's like a view error though, so that's kind of nice. It's actually loading up the homepage trending controller that we made, and it's calling down where we expect, so that's not so bad. Okay, let's whip this. Let's whip this and just kind of see what's left. Let me make a punch out list of what's left. And I think the thing to do would be to probably do a pairing session that we record with Eric where he pulls down this branch and runs it, because I could spend like, I don't want to spend like 30 minutes setting this up locally. It's just not needed. Oh, let's get rid of that real quick. I don't know if he's using that or not. Git rm-cache.ai. Yeah. I just want to pull that out of there. Okay, let's give this another look. Okay, we have this new controller. That's kind of what we expect. So we got that. We got this new homepage trending controller. And for now, I'm going to leave, like at first I thought I would pull these over, but I don't think they're used anywhere else than the homepage. So like, part of you could say, okay, well, why don't you put them in cached content? Well, if we go look at the homepage like trending template, then I would have to do homepage. Yeah, if we go look at this, like anywhere in here, I'm gonna have to like assign that now, which I could do. I mean, I need to get rid of this anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I think I may consolidate that. We'll see. I don't know. I'm on the fence about that. Okay, so the new middleware, we talked about that before. We talked about all of these articles that we moved over. We've kind of reviewed all that, so that's all nice. So these are all the old things. Again, they were just super lightweight. You know, super lightweight livewire components anyway. So again, we're just removing, you know, a half dozen of these little 30-line, you know, files. We basically consolidated everything in here into this new service class, which has just got some static helper methods that pull from the cache. It just makes it kind of easy, so we don't have to go make a bunch of blade component classes. I don't think there's a need for that. Here's where we brought over the Livewire article show template to a view. Again, that's now being loaded through a controller, so it's just a straight view. Same thing with the article add, but this was a component. It stayed now a blade component. So again, we're just kind of demoting these Livewire components that just had no reactivity down to a blade component. And we're just making sure that any of the syntax within them is now honored. You know, not this, because it was a computed property in Livewire. Now it needs to be something else. So we'll take a look at that. And again, I can kind of do that off stream. I don't think that's very fun to like, yeah, there's only a few more of these anyway. So very simple. So I'll clean those up off stream. Let's keep going down the line here. So these are all good. These are all good. So again, then just anywhere the whole code base reference this stuff is now a top level, you know, blade component. So yeah, a lot of this is just search and replace. Like again, the number of files changed feel like a lot, but if you look at the actual changes, again, we moved these over from web to be static, so they're easier to cache. I got some new envs for this package that we brought over, composer lock. Like, again, I fully expect when I'm done with this to basically it'd be like a wash, right? The number of additions is the same as the number of files that I removed. So like it's really just moving things around. There's not a lot of like actual code that's written here, and the completely new files like these middleware, they were automated from shift, right? These just came across in that Fast Laravel shift. So yeah, it's really just a matter of turning this into, what were we doing, this thing, and we called it partners. Yep, there it is. And we just need to make sure the levels get honored, which I'm assuming if we go look at like partners, home, whatever, yeah, levels come across and show heading. Is that what? I don't know what show heading is. Oh, there it is. cool. So this is levels. And I think this wasn't cached, so that's no big deal. Yeah, so again, it's really just a matter of doing this in these last 3 spots. So I'm just going to do it, and then we're done with the stream. So levels, we don't need, oh, that's weird. How did that wire key not show up? Oh, I never finished that. That's the other thing I got to do. And then this is that, but it's trending articles, and there is no parameter. So the last thing is really just looking for wire here and making sure none of our things, yeah, that was the last one. None of our things have that. Whoops. Cool. Yeah, so if we search this one more time for wire colon, it's really just the other files. Yeah, we didn't do links or pricing or any of that stuff, so I think we're all good there. Let's just do $wire. Yeah, again, this seems to be more of components that come in from, you know, Laravel UI and all that kind of stuff. So let's just go ahead and push this up. Git add -u, git with, git push. Okay, so I think we're in a place, again, I think we're in a place where this could probably work. But I think I'd rather just get with Eric and let him pull down the branch and, you know, we fire up record that way. I think that's the way to go. So, cool. Pretty easy peasy stream. Again, this is me just kind of hacking on this pretty straightforward manner. I think that, you know, there'll be a nice little write-up and like probably an edited video, condensed video when this is done, because this is really a case study. This is kind of a case study for fastlaravel.com. Like, of course, the landing page attempts to kind of, the whole course demonstrates me doing this for laravelshift.com. And that is like the original case study. But some people have asked like, oh, well, can you even do this for like, you know, a heavily dynamic site, you know, a forum or a blog or, you know, any of that stuff. And I mean, so I think Laravel News is like a really good example of that. So I've kind of partnered with Eric to work with him, but I'd love to do something too, like Larcasts or other, you know, community sites. Because again, I think when you really push yourself, right, it's kind of like the Yagni thing. When you really push yourself, I think you realize that a majority of your site, definitely your public facing site, can be cached. You know, can you cache it for a very, very, very long time? Maybe not, you know. For example, Laravel News, maybe this homepage is only cached for 10 minutes. You know, Eric would be able to determine that, right? Does he publish on Thursdays? Okay, if he publishes on Thursdays, well, maybe it can be cached for longer and he has the ability to bust the cache. Like, if you can invalidate the cache or you can choose a TTL that's, you know, reasonable for the type of site that you have, if you can align those two things, there's really no reason you can't cache a page even if it was completely dynamic. Like, even if this homepage was like the New York Times and it changed, you know, potentially every minute, like, again, balancing the level of traffic with a TTL and with some simple cache busting strategies probably make caching worth it at that scale. Like, Laravel News gets 250,000, I think he said, you know, 250,000 hits, like, I don't remember if it was a day or a week, and it might be a day, but like, again, 90% of that is probably the article pages and the homepage. So if we're caching these, he just reduces server traffic by 90%. So that's the whole point of Fast Laravel. Like, there's no reason you can't achieve like 99% caching for most of your sites, because a majority of your stuff is hitting some kind of mostly static landing page. And the only reason it can't be cached is because you haven't really configured a few very simple things inside of your Laravel app. So that's what the course covers. And I'm trying to kind of promote it with more case studies, because it's not just for like a staticky site like Laravel Shift. Like, it can be for any site out there, and it can greatly benefit not just the speed of the page, but actual server costs. Anyway, I'll get Eric on either next week or we'll create a different stream for that. But thanks everybody for watching the recap here, and I'll do a fuller write-up once we're completely done and everything's been proven out. See y'all next time.